adventures. Got another great project for you today. This one is called Magic Cups, and basically it simulates the game where you're going to move around a couple different cups and you're going to try to find the ball underneath it. This is a game that has a real life application that people often do this at different, sort of carnivals and things like that. We're going to create the digital version of that today. So the first thing I want to do is show you how it works. So we're going to expand our screen. We're going to click on the green flag, and we see how cups move around the screen randomly. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on one. Oh, the ball's not under there. Nope, not under that one. Oh, there we go. So let's do that one more time so we can really see how it works. So we're going to have the cups move randomly around the screen, and then we're going to try to find that ball. Nope, not there. Oh, there's our ball. So let's go in here and see how this works. And so the first thing that we're going to notice is that there's going to be 4 different sprites for this project. There's going to be a correct cup, there's going to be a ball sprite, there's going to be a wrong cup 1 and a wrong cup 2. And so one of the things that's important on this project that I want you to understand is that for the correct cup, there's going to be 2 different versions of the costume. And one of the things that I want you to see is that we have one costume that's covering up that little dot on our sprite drawing screen, and then we have another one that it's uncovered. So just make sure that you have, when you're drawing the sprite for this, that you have one costume that's covering up that dot and the other that's not covering. If not, your game's not going to work correctly. So let's go ahead and clear out this original code in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with our correct cup sprite. And so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into our events block, and we're going to get a when this sprite clicked. And the thing that we want to do is when this sprite clicked is we want it to basically reveal what's underneath. And so what we're going to do is connect it to the when this sprite is clicked. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and switch to the next costume. And then what we want to do is now we're going to create the motion. How do we get this thing to move around the screen randomly? So what we're going to do is we're going to go into events. We're going to get ourselves a when green flag clicked. And then the thing that we want to do is right when we click that green flag, we want to make sure that it's covering up whatever is underneath there. So we're going to go into looks. And what we're going to do is we're going to get a switch costume to, and we're going to change this to costume 1. So that's the one that is always on that lower down thing that's covering up that little dot. The next thing that we're going to want to do is we want to get a repeat block, and we're going to change that 10 to 20. The next thing that we're going to do is we want to make sure that we want to have our sprite moving around the screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a glide block, and we're going to place that right in there. Glide starts off at 1 second, and that really determines the speed of how our cup moves around. I want my cup to move a little bit faster, so I'm going to change that to 0.1 seconds. And then we don't just want it to go to one position, we want it to randomly sort of spawn throughout the screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into operators, we're going to get 2 pick random blocks, and the thing that we're going to do here is we're going to change this range to be the coordinates of the screen. So for the X, we're going to have it go from negative 220 to 220. And for our Y, what we're going to do is we're going to get it to go from, let me move this over so we can make sure we see it. We're going to get our Y to go from a negative 160 to 160. So what this is basically doing is saying that in the X, we want it to be able to go between negative 220 and 220, which is almost the range of our coordinate system in Scratch, and then we want it to go in the Y direction from negative 160 to 160. So this is a great way for you to really understand how the coordinate system works. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into motion, and we're going to say that if this is ever on the edge, we want it to bounce, right? So we don't want our cup to disappear off screen. And then the final thing that we're going to do is we're going to get a looks block, and what we're going to do is we're going to direct it to go to the front layer so that we always make sure that we see that. And so that's how we program the correct cup. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into the ball. And so within the ball, what we're going to do is, once again, we're going to get a when green flag clicked, and then we're going to get ourselves a forever loop in control. And the thing that we want to do within this forever loop is we're going to give it instructions that it's always going to go to the correct cup. So it starts off as a go to random position, and what we're going to do is we're going to change that to correct cup. So whenever we click the green flag, the ball is instantly going to connect to that correct cup. Now what we're going to do is some programming for the wrong cup. So what we're going to do is we're going to blast out this existing code. And what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to go and get ourselves a when this sprite is clicked. Similar to before, we're going to get a looks block, and we're going to say next costume. And what once again that's going to do is whenever we restart when we click on that, it's going to raise or lower, right? So whenever we click that sprite. The next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to go into our events block and we're going to get ourselves a when green flag clicked. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to get another switch costume block and we're going to switch that to costume 1. Once again, that's so that it's hiding whatever might be underneath there so that every cup sort of starts in that default down position. Similar to before, what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves a repeat block and we're going to do repeat and we're going to do that 20 times. And then within there, we're going to get ourselves a motion block and we're going to say that we want it to glide. Similar to before, instead of it being 1 second, we're going to change it to 0.1 seconds. We're going to get ourselves 2 pick random blocks, and these are for the X and the Y. So we're going to change once again that X range to negative 220 to 220, and the Y range is going to be from negative 160 to 160. And what that's going to do, once again, in that coordinate system, we're going to have negative 220 to 220 and negative 160 to 160. We also want to make sure that once again we do an if on edge bounce. So we're going to grab that, we're going to place that in there. And then similar to before, we're going to make sure that we have that to go on that front layer there. So we're going to click that go to front layer to make sure that it's always sort of like at the very top layer in case something gets off with the position. And then we're going to go into our final block, which is the wrong cup number 2, and we're going to do a similar sort of thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to say when this sprite is clicked, what we're going to do as before is we want it to go to our next costume. And what that does is once again, it sort of lifts up that thing. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into events. We're going to get ourselves a when green flag clicked. And what we're going to do is we're going to switch our costume to costume 1. And what that does is it once again, it drops it down so that it's hiding whatever might be behind there. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go into control. We're going to get ourselves a repeat block. We're going to change that to 20. And then what we're going to do is we want this to move around. So we're going to get ourselves a glide block. We're going to change that to 0.1 as before because we want it to move around the screen quickly. We're going to get ourselves 2 pick random blocks. We're going to place them in there. We're going to change the coordinates on these pick randoms to negative 220 to 220, negative 160 to 160. And then what we're going to do is we want to make sure that if that cup ever finds itself on the edge, that it bounces. And then finally what we're going to do is we're going to go into looks and we're going to make sure that that appears on the front layer. And so now if we click on the full screen, we can test out our game. So we click the green flag, we see the cups are moving around the screen based on the coordinates. We notice that none of the cups actually end up off the screen because remember we put that block of code in there. It said if on edge bounce. So now if we click, we notice that we find our ball immediately. We notice that it went up, and if we click it, we can re-hide it. We can do the same thing here. So we can basically move them up and down. Let's do it one more time. So then we click on it and we found our ball again. So we hope you enjoyed this project. Once again, this is really all about learning how the coordinate system works and really creating a digital version of an analog game so that we can really start to understand how we might create something that's fun, interactive, and engaging. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're enjoying our projects, we hope that you'll give us a subscribe, click on that like button, or leave us a comment. Let us know how we're doing. We really appreciate it, and thank you for your time.